minute and then I will start. 6:10. Whoever is there, they can join, and otherwise they can see the recording later. Vijay, you froze for some reason. Okay, Vijay said we are live and he went off. Srijit, are you there? Yes, we can start now. Thank you. Just one sec, I'll close the door in case. Good evening, everybody. I am extremely delighted to have two very illustrious women in STEM today with us on this weekend when we will be celebrating the 75th year of independence of India. And I can't wait to hear our amazing, wonderful Wonder Women in STEM, Dr. Shubhra Priyadarshini, who is the Chief Editor of Nature India, and Dr. Pooja Devi, who's a principal scientist at CSIR, which is the Central Scientific and Instrument Organization. I am looking forward to hearing their incredible journeys in STEM, which spans various disciplines as well as various roles as a scientist, as a science communicator, and as trailblazing women in STEM. And I hope that you all will learn from their exciting journeys and gather the strength as well as inspiration to chart your own paths in STEM. So without much delay, let's begin with our first guest for today, Shubhra Priyadarshini from Nature. And to the speakers, may I please request you all to keep your presentation or the talking time to anything between 12 to 15 minutes, please, so that we have about 15 minutes for each one of you, and then ample time for question answers, because we would like as many questions as answered by you people from our fellows, because that's the whole purpose of these sessions, where the girls can get a direct chance to interact with illustrious women such as yourselves. So thank you very much for being here with us today. Apologies for the technical glitches with respect to the link. And over to you, Shubhra. I will spotlight you now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to all the wonderful organizers, Darshana, Anushila, Vijay, for having me here today. I'm as excited as you all are, because this is an opportunity to talk about yourself to a bunch of inspiring, excited people, you see. So it's lovely that there are some people who want to hear about my journey, because it's flattering to me. Whenever somebody calls me for a career talk these days, something like this, I start feeling old, like when you want to give somebody a lifetime achievement kind of award. But I'm just only double your age, so don't take me so seriously also. You all have your own journeys, and I'm sure you all are doing wonderful things already. One reason why I say that is you're already part of such a wonderful cohort that is getting you so much direction in life. So guys, it's almost been a, what should I say, jokes aside, when I look back at my career today, I can only be thankful for all the fantastic opportunities to learn and grow every day that came my way. And I love doing what I do, and that's the passion that I come to science journalism, which is my core area of operation. That's a passion I come to it with, because every day of my career, of my professional life, there's something new I'm learning, and I'm learning from greats. I'm learning from people who I've always looked up to, people I've read in my textbooks as I was growing up, people I always wanted to meet. I can just pick up the phone or send them an email, and they talk to me, with it's that exciting. I just can't tell you how exciting it is for me every day of my professional life just because of this. And it's been about a quarter of a century that I've been doing just this. And we all know what they say about what happens when your passion becomes your profession. So there you are. It's about 20 years of science journalism alone that I've been doing. Before that, I did a bunch of other kinds of journalism as well. That was political, there was, sports journalism, financial journalism, and of course, we can't escape Bollywood and fashion journalism in this country. So that too, so I may not be a great role model for a career in science as such, but maybe it will open your eyes up to parallel careers when you're still reading your science subjects. You can think of things that you can all do beyond just doing research or industrial research work, or even policy, etc. So there's a whole bunch of other things like science communication, science journalism, that has not been discussed so much when you are growing up in your careers, but here is a chance for you to hear about it today from me. So let's begin. So I thought I'll not do any PPTs today, but just give you a glimpse of science, what science journalism looks and feels like, what it is to take up a profession that you may not have been exposed to yet, or may not be on your radar until now. So, if it appeals to even one of you among the audience, I would have done my job well today. So let's begin at the beginning. I was myself drawn towards writing in my early days in school, like most of us who write prose and fancy ourselves as poets at some point of our life. I started writing early too, and the bug actually stayed on. The writing bug stayed on with me into my college days as a zoology undergrad. So on a whim, I and too much of my family's dislike, who thought I was smart enough to be a civil servant or a bank officer or do an MBA or become a scientist or whatever the trend of the time was. To their dislike, I applied to the Indian Institute of Mass Communication right after my graduation in zoology. And there was a brief period when I was into post-graduation in zoology, but I wrote the IIMC All India test, and miraculously I got selected. And I was the youngest in my batch to be selected. There were people who had come after PhDs, who had come after, their postgrads. So I was like really in awe of myself that, I could get selected among such a wise group of people. So that was how it began. And I got into IIMC, Indian Institute of Mass Communication. And miraculously, again, I topped the batch. So I was like, oh, there must be something here for me. Because, it can't be by coincidence that all of this is happening, right? So my family had actually allowed me, my parents, specifically my mom, who thought proper post-graduation in the sciences would be my calling. They had allowed me to do the course in mass comm if I did a proper post-graduation later, under quotes proper. So I wrote the entrance exam for post-graduation in personal management and industrial relations and got selected for that. And since a personal management course was deemed to be incomplete without an added law degree, I enrolled myself into law right after that. So now you see why I say I'm not a great role model for, I didn't know what I was going to do ultimately. I just was, doing things that would fit into each other. The courses would be befitting for each other and for a career in, say, management or something else. So a series of this course and that course kept happening. And I must admit that none of this went waste, since I learned enormously. And all of it came in handy for a multidisciplinary profession that I was heading into, that was science journalism. All of this while I continued to write. I think somebody has to mute themselves.
हाथ होता है वहां पे आप इस तरीके से सबसे भी परसेंटेज को मैच करते हो इसको पीएम बोलते हो क्या बोलते हो पीएम याद है ना ये आपका एमएम इक्वेशन का ग्राफ
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I've just muted everybody. I think Shubhra, मैंने आपको भी mute कर दिया है. Let me unmute you. Can you unmute yourself, please, Shubhra? No. Vijay, can you help us?
Yeah. Okay, yes. I think I'm on. Yeah. Sorry. So all of this while I continued writing, and now I was doing it professionally. That was the only change. I started working in a very small newspaper in Bhubaneswar, which is where I belong. It was called the Sun Times. It was a very small newspaper, so I got I got a column for myself. It was called Toddler's Travelogue, because I had, started from my, traveling very early in life with my parents. My father was in the services, he's a doctor in the services. So I kept hopping from school to school with him wherever he was transferred. So when I joined Sun Times, they said, why don't you write about your experiences traveling across the country with your parents all the time? And so the column was called Toddler's Travelogue, and it became an instant hit with the kids and of course many other young adults. And that's how my full-fledged columning in newspapers began. This was during my undergrad days. I started my career quite early in that sense. Then the Indian Express happened, then the Telegraph newspaper, Times of India, Hindustan Times, etc. And then I came to the Press Trust of India, which is a news agency. You must have heard about Reuters or AFP. These are news agencies in the global parlance. So India's best known news agency is PTI, Press Trust of India, which I joined right after my journalism school. This is where I began my serious brush with science journalism under Dr. K.S. Jayaraman, who was a nuclear physicist who had come back from the US and started the Science Bureau at PTI, Press Trust of India. So very recently, some of us who started science journalism 20 years back in this country wrote a book together called Raising Hackers. It's a book on Dr. K.S. Jayaraman, who was our ideal and idol, both, and continues to write prolifically for Nature India now. And that's where I began my first brush, as I said, with science journalism. So very briefly, I'll tell you what science journalism is, why it is different from science communication that many of us might already know about. So in science communication, you look at things with, if I may say, tinted glasses about science. You look at science as something of awe, of wonder, of something that inspires the next generation of researchers, something that is unsolved, the mysteries of science, astrophysics, dinosaurs, archaeology, all those lovely stories that you see that glorify science in its wonderment, in its entire glory, That is science communication. You communicate about the great things of science. Science journalism, on the other hand, may not always be just the beautiful things about science. It could also point in the eye about all the bad things that's happening in, say, science administration, plagiarism, misconduct. It could be all kinds of things. It questions, as opposed to science communication, which communicates. It questions. It takes governments to account. It holds them to, holds power to account. It holds scrutiny on the questions that not everybody dares to ask. So that's where science journalism differs from science communication or popular communication of science or engagement of science. So you may have seen reports in newspapers or news channels about about what's wrong with science, or how can science improve, or misconduct, etc. So that is the portion of journalism of science communication that is not so prevalent in the other genre of communication. So what I thought is, maybe I'll read, if I have time, a very small excerpt from the book Raising Hackles, which will tell you about my own journey. It'll take us about 4 to 5 minutes. Do I have time, Darshana? Yeah? Okay. All right. So my chapter in the book, and I'll try to just project the cover of the book. Let me see if I can share, open share tray, desktop window, Chrome tab, no, entire screen, can't see how it is done. Share. Are you able to see anything at all? No. No problem. Let's just skip that. I'll just read a small excerpt from the book. You can just Google it. It's called Raising Hackles, and it's edited by Dinesh Sharma, my great friend and science journalist and communicator. The chapter that I wrote for the book is called A Mentor for Life, and it is about Dr. K.S. Jayaraman. We called him Dr. J. So here goes. Dr. J assigned me my first big investigation just a couple of months into life as a science reporter. He had got a lead that the safety regulations at Delhi's large blood banks were being flouted, and that HIV positive blood had found its way into one of the blood banks. We weren't sure which one, since blood banks were known to exchange stock when needed. This came very close to a Supreme Court judgment directing changes in the regulations governing blood banks. The responsibility for ensuring blood safety was shifted to the National Drug Control Authority, and professional blood donation was banned towards the end of 1997. Figure out what's happening there. The government is never going to admit it, and we will see how to handle that when we have the evidence, Dr. Jayaraman said, while giving instructions on how to go about this investigative story. So, riding pillion with a photographer, the next 1 week saw me do the rounds of blood banks in Delhi, talking to people manning these blood banks, civil society activists, and professional blood donating agencies. In the meanwhile, Doc got hold of a number of government reports, including one by the National AIDS Control Organization, which also pointed to such an anomaly. In the pre-internet era, all of us have internet now, Google now, but this was journalism in pre-internet era. Physical copies of reports were precious material. Dr. Jayaraman could make one phone call saying, Jayaraman here, and the reports would reach his table. Such was his penetration and the respect for his journalistic excellence in the corridors of power. At the end of this week, Dr. Jayaraman asked me to accompany him to the office of the Health and Family Welfare Minister, Renuka Chaudhary. I remember sitting squeamishly in a chair in front of the minister, my first interaction with a politician in Delhi, facing a huge map of India made out of colorful condoms. Chaudhary was a strong propagator, advocate of family planning, and she was toying with the idea of launching condom vending machines then. So as I struggled to tide over the discomfiture around the subject, thanks to my conservative small city upbringing, Dr. Jayaraman was doing some hard talking with the minister. He was asking very pointed questions about the irregularities we had found out in the blood banks and shortage of blood across Delhi's banks. And to my utter surprise, Renuka Chaudhary was not perturbed at all. In fact, she admitted to the inconsistencies and promised to look into the situation. In the early days of 1998, we broke the story on PTI news wires, and as expected, it was picked up by every newspaper worth its salt, prompting the government to institute an inquiry and finally create stringent regulations governing blood banks. Many points raised during the ensuing discussion fed into making a national blood policy in 2002. And the story goes on. So that gives you a glimpse of how an investigative science reporting or health reporting is done, how we go about our daily lives as reporters or journalists or editors of science stories to bring to you what could be impact making, what could be opening up a new vista in policy making, what could be changing governments through your science reportage, through your journalism. So there you are. I mean, I could go on and on about all the stories that we broke as rookie reporters, as seasoned science journalists, but this generally gives you a glimpse of what life as a science journalist looks like. Very recently, and Darshana pointed out that I must speak about my experience at the Everest Base Camp, in April this year. We took some journalists, science journalists from 3 countries of the subcontinent to the Everest Base Camp to give them an idea about the very pertinent and important issue of climate change. Firsthand, they should experience it. It was really an eye-opening trip because this was the first ever journalistic trip that was done to the roof of the world, if you will. And we saw firsthand how things are changing in terms of livelihoods, in terms of the people who live there, high altitude, Sherpas who porter all the stuff for people who go to the base camp, the invariable waste management in the base camp, how it's happening, what kind of waste material is finding its way, etc., to the base camp. And most importantly, the very important aspect of climate change that is impacting the lives directly of the people who live there, because one glacial lake melt and their lives are gone forever. Their agriculture fields, their livestock, their homes, their hearths, everything goes. So how aware are those people about this changing planet, changing climate, etc.? It was, to say the least, an eye-opening trip. And I wish, we took a student observer along with us, an undergrad from Miranda House, who was chosen from a bunch of applications. It happened to be my daughter, but I can tell you that it was an impartial judgment made by the committee who was looking into it. But it was great to take her there and show her as a student who's studying zoology to understand what's happening at the roof of the world in terms of climate change. So there you go. If you keep your eyes and ears open to things around you, there could be multiple things that come your way. And don't just allow yourself to be blinkered by the traditional way of thinking in science. And that's, I know, the whole idea of this, getting you as a cohort to this excellent program by Darshana and Vijay. So congratulations to all of you, and happy to be here and answer any of your questions that you may have.
Thank you, Shubhra, for that interesting talk and reading an section from you. Okay, Shubhra, your camera is off. Can you switch on your camera, please? I think while you were trying to share your screen, we lost your video. So, no but you're reading it so nicely, we didn't want to interrupt.
No.
Okay, thank you. So thank you very much for that very interesting journey of various decisions that you took in science and eventually venturing into journalism. And your journey of, an incredible mentorship that you had as you entered science journalism. So I'm sure the girls in here are feeling very, very excited. Girls, we will keep the questions reserved for the end. We will begin with Dr. Pooja Devi's talk, who's joining us from CSIR, CSIO. And I have had the chance of hearing Dr. Pooja's incredible journey from a small, town in Haryana to country's leading scientific research labs, and with collaborations with leading global researchers. So I'm personally very, very inspired by what she has achieved at such a young age, and I am looking forward to hearing her speak to you all today. So over to you, Pooja. Would you like to share some slides, or you're going to talk?
Thank you. Yeah. First of all, thank you, Darshana and Vijay, for inviting me and being here. So let me tell this, today especially has been a very kind of productive day. In the morning, we had one flagship event of INEAS where we were listening to the women in leadership, work-life balance, and workplace challenges. And now I'm here with the, inspiring girls who wants to be, torchbearer in the STEM field. So it's really, I must say, very productive day, putting up a lot of efforts to bring women in the field, and also give them direction so that they take the lead role and also do overcome all the challenges that come in the STEM field. And one statement I would like to say, Dr. Subra said that she is not a role model in a journalism. I totally disagree with that, because this is one of the career option which many girls are not aware of in the STEM field. So STEM is not all about the wet labs. We need people actually who can connect the scientists who are working into the wet lab with the society. And there the role of journalism, science communication comes into picture. So that's really, I think, a wonderful effort by Darshana and Vijay to bring the women working in different aspects into the field of science, and make the girls, aspiring girls, aware different career option, and also tell them the path they have taken, that they have come to this particular career option in the field of the STEM. So let me start, since I was told to share my experience, share my journey, and I would try to connect the people, the girls over here, with my own experience, my own journey. And I'm also happy to see my niece, whom I recommended to join for this program, and I could see she's there. So that's thank you, Swati, for taking my suggestion. And I see that these kind of programs were not there in my time. I could see, I tried to get the motivation from where I can get, either through media, through newspapers, through my teachers. Such kind of structured programs were not there, but I think this kind of structured program will really help the girls who are willing to enter into the field of STEM. So without not taking much time, I'll share my screen. Darshana, just confirm if you could see. Can you see my screen?
Something, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So basically, whatever I'll share in my journey, it's I'm not gone very far, but whatever I have, the small steps that I could take, a small decision I could take, and whatever little I could achieve, I would try to share more or less what I learned from that particular, what motivated me to go for the next level, and what environment I try to take from that environment. I would like to share more in that direction. So basically, I have done my basic education like until 8th class from a very small school in one of the small town in Haryana, which is named as Dhand. So I did my primary education from this school, Tagore Public School. And this was the first school which was like a new school opened by principal. And I was amongst the first 2-3 batches of that particular school. So being from this 2-3 batches, I had opportunity to take several lead role actually in this particular school, taking new initiative for the schools or any new activity. So I was amongst those students who were given these taking new initiative or leadership activities in that school. So that indirectly, unknowingly did help me to improve, inculcating me skills of taking leadership. And until 8th, my school, the education medium was Hindi medium. Until then, there was no idea whether that education language would become a barrier for me or not. In that environment, wherever I was doing like my early education, I tried to do best, whatever environment I got at that time, because your parents and your teachers, they try to give the best environment they can offer you. And as a child or as a student, it's accountability on us that we make them proud. We try to take the best use of opportunity, whatever given to us. So this kind of environment was there at my home. My father was, very encouraging, always motivating me to do, well in education. He used to say that education is the, only thing by which you can grow yourself, you can change your destiny. So that kind of motivation and encouragement he used to give me. So whatever, my mantra, I would say, of the success as on today is to do best wherever you are, whatever you have received, and try to improve the system, try to bring the change instead of keep on complaining at that I don't have this, I don't have that. So that was the mantra I have followed since my childhood. So I did my basic education from this small school, but even though it was a small, but I had a lot of opportunity to take the leadership role, to take initiative. So that did help me in the beginning. And I was fortunate enough that I conducted one science outreach program in my city, hometown, Kurukshetra, and that program was for the science school students to choose science, to motivate them to choose science as a career. And my principal especially came with the students, like current batch students of that particular school, to attend my program, and also he felicitated me, and that was something, a kind of great feeling when you get encouraged, you can get appreciated by your gurus or your teachers at such kind of platform. So this is one thing I would like to share with all the girls. Like you may also have such dream for yourself to get recognized from your alma maters. So try to give best of yourself, whatever environment you are getting, and also be motivated, be positive. That's very much important. Then after the primary education into the 8th class, one of our school teacher, he identified like me and my brother that we are doing good in education, and then he guided my father to apply for this exam in one of the reputed school in Kurukshetra, that is Geeta Niketan Avasya Vidyalaya. So he filled the form for us, and we appeared for it, and we qualified that exam. And so the important point is, it's also important to have good mentors, good well-wishers for you, so that they can give you direction at right time, in your life. That's also very much important. So I was kind of much fortunate, you can say, that I could get such mentors who could guide me at right point of time in my life. So then I in this school I did my until +2 I did from Geeta Niketan Avasya Vidyalaya, while my 10th was in Hindi medium. And after 10th I had to switch to the +1 and +2, which was more into the English medium. So in this particular school, what major things I could gain or I could learn, because like I said, my mantra is to try to gain best out of what you have and take positive things from the people. So this school taught me the importance of the discipline in the life, which is required not only for your work, but also for your personal growth. So taking care of yourself, your family, and also having a work-life balance. So having a discipline in life is also critically important. So that's the important thing I learned from this particular school. And also in this school, I got more competitive environment. Like I was doing good in my previous school. I could continue in that school, but one should not stick to one place. If you feel that at certain point of time there is a opportunity for you to grow, it's always good to go in a competitive environment, because in that competitive environment you learn new things, you unfold your own potential. So that's also important. We have to come out of our comfort zone. So that's what this school gave me. I could unfold my new potential which I was not aware of, and also I could learn the importance of discipline in my life. Then after my +2, I appeared for the engineering exam. So in the engineering exam, the major problem I faced, like I did my 10th up to the Hindi with the Hindi medium, and +1, +2 was into the English medium. So I had lot of challenges in basically coping up with the language barrier in comparison to the other batchmates who were from the English medium. So I had to, I used to take the dictionary with me, and I used to translate each and every word of the chemistry and physics and mathematics notebooks, competitive exam books, and then I tried to learn the subject. So that was, kind of a very tough time. I still consider that as the tough time in my journey till as on today. So that time, one of the important decisions that was taken up by my father, because like we were from the Dhan, and we were traveling from Dhan to Kurukshetra daily by the local bus. So it used to take like 1 hour for us traveling daily, and traveling as well as the facing the language problem, and also having no coaching. And in my family, my father is like he studied only up to 10th class. My mother is a housewife, so not much support in terms of the helping us into the education was not there, but the ecosystem was best which they could offer. So my father took a decision when one of my class teacher in the parents teacher meeting, she told my father that if you want your kids to grow, you should shift to Kurukshetra. So after listening to her, he took this bold decision, and he shifted totally from that Dhan to Kethal, and he brought it like within 1 week. We shifted totally to Kurukshetra, and without worrying about what will happen to his business, to his work, established work into that town. So that was a bold decision taken up by him, and so there is a, that luck, there is a big role of your family, big role of your parents to give you a ecosystem at right point, and help you to overcome certain challenges. And it's also then accountability on us, responsibility on us, especially on the girls, I would say, because whatever the in today's time, like we are very much fortunate than our our mother, or you can say grandmother and their grandmother, who were not having those many opportunities and those kind of ecosystem which we have. So it's important that we value the we respect the environment which is given to us by our parents, by our teachers. So that is what motivated me to excel in my studies, excel in my education, especially to make my father proud. So then I qualified the engineering exam, and I could get the admission to engineering college based in Sonipat. But my parents, that time, there was, because since I was the first one to enter into the field of the education in my family, so they were a little bit reluctant to send me to, far place from the Kurukshetra. So, and that time there was a new institute which was open in the Kurukshetra University. So they allowed me to take admission over there and pursue the engineering degree. So I did completed my initial engineering education, which was BTech in biotechnology from this Kurukshetra University. And in this institute, especially, I would see there are many things which I improved in myself. And in this institute itself, first time I operated the computer. I was until then I was not aware how to switch on a CPU or how to what a computer looks like. So there are certain very new things I learned. And then also I learned about the English as a language of communication. Earlier, I was reading English just as a subject until my 12th, because there was no such, incident where I had to speak more as a English, or participate in such kind of events where the English language was the important criteria, because the school was a bilingual kind of system. So at this stage, I realized the importance of learning English as a language of communication. And so I took the coaching classes, I took the crash courses to learn the English language. So I improved myself. So what message I want to give, that whatever environment, whatever situation you are, try to improve yourself, try to gain new skills, and try to take positive things from that particular environment. And this will help you in long run, because you will see yourself as a different person. And in my BTech, I had very good teachers who guided me to prepare for the competitive exam. From the first year itself, I was told that if you want to grow in your field, like BTech Biotech or the field like nanotechnology and all this thing, they are not like you can get the job just after 4 years of your degree, which generally happens in the BTech computer sciences or BTech electronics these kind of engineering programs. So these programs are more or less research oriented. So I was guided by them to prepare for the competitive exams. And like I said, I followed it blindly. I followed my teachers blindly. I followed my parents blindly. And I could qualify the engineering exam with 99% percentile. And I could enter into a very good institute, that is IIT Roorkee. And this institute all together gave me different environment. Like I said, if you keep on entering into a competitive environment, you unfold your new potential and you learn new things. So here I learned so many things, especially if I would like to mention, like the pressure management is one of the important thing I learned from the IIT's system. Because in the IIT system, what is there, like you have the classes still going on till evening, till 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. and next day you have your exam. So handling the pressure, that is what I learned during my stay in IIT Roorkee. And also I regained my confidence, which I lost after 10th because of the language barrier. So I regained my confidence. I could improve my language. I could participate in the activities. And I had an opportunity to have an international exposure through Commonwealth Research Fellowship. So this helped me, this international exposure further helped me a lot, because I could see myself handling things independently, and also giving confidence. Like now, I was giving confidence to my parents. I was convincing them to allow me to visit international institutions so that I can further grow, I can further improve myself. And so that's what I could convince them, and then they gave me the opportunity that I could visit. So one thing which in all these three institutions, including my basic Tagore Public School, where I did my primary education, then my engineering institute, then IIT. So I was amongst the first batch of first few batches, I would say, like first 2-3 batches of these institutions. So that also I would say has helped me indirectly or unknowingly, because there are many things where I could, being from the first few batches, I could take lead on several new initiative into the kind of programs I was enrolled into, or the institution building, or helping up in several activities. So that is something which helped me indirectly, and I could realize it even now. And also the international exposure, like I said, if you keep on changing, entering into different environment, you get new opportunity, you get to meet new people, you get to learn new things. So international exposure brought a lot of confidence into me, it brought a lot of independence into me, to handle things. Generally, if you are if you're a frog in a well, your world is only well. But if you come out of the well, then you see there are many things which you are not exposed to. So it's important to have exposure. It's important to meet new people, have networking, connect with the people from different geography, different races. So that's important. So this international exposure did help me a lot. As far as my professional journey is concerned, I joined CSIR through campus recruitment, and in 2010, I joined as an ad hoc scientist, and currently I'm working as a principal scientist. So I could do well in my career in terms of especially in the SNT, we generally judge the performance in terms of the publication, how many technologies we have developed, how many patents we have filed, and also in terms of the recognition. I could do well in this my professional career. But one thing I would like to mention here, when I joined in 2010, I was hardly having 1 or 2 publication in my profile, because I joined through campus placement from the MTech degree program from IIT Roorkee. So then entering into a system which is full of scientists who are more experienced, more senior to you, and then you get to sometimes you also get a criticism, like you joined after masters only, you could make into this research lab. So instead of taking that as a negative, I took it as a challenge, and I worked upon myself. I worked upon my knowledge, learning new things, building a group of my own. I started working with the interns, the MTech, MSc or BSc training with me. And I started working with them with 6-month projects or 4-month project or 1-year projects. And I could, from the 2 publication, now I could publish around 72 publication in very short, or you can say in a young age. And along with, I could gain a profile, or I could get a flavor of importance of the technology, the translation of the work which we are doing. That's a different culture in our laboratory over here. So the thing is, I was open to the environment over here, open to the learning, open to the collaboration and networking, which could help me to grow and achieve a little bit, which I could as on today. So one experience I would like to share with all the young girls over here. So like I said, I am my early motivation or my early ecosystem is because of my parents, my father, who motivated me to excel in the education. So I always wanted to make him feel proud of his decision, which is not that easy, especially in Haryana for the girls. So I always had a dream to make him proud, and so I could do so through my SNT contributions, so that my work was recognized recently by Haryana Chief Minister. And my father was also invited, and my parents were invited, and they felt so much proud. And it also, gave, it also motivated several girls in my family, in my relative circles, that it's good to give wings to the girls, and it so that in turn, if you give them, they will definitely make you proud. If we give a proper ecosystem to them, if we give right direction to them at right time. So that's also important for the girls over here. You are here because your parents thought about, had a vision for you. They gave an ecosystem to you. So try to give your best to make them proud through your work or through your whatever you want to do in your life. And also, I would like to say this award is not the only thing which you should aspire for, but this is one way to give back to your society, to give back to your family, to make your parents proud. Because, but it's more or less like, getting a recognition of what you're doing, and also it's a beginning of work, what you want to do in your field.
Pooja, if
and
can, sorry
yeah,
to interrupt, but if you can
yes,
wrap
just
quickly,
last
because
few.
Shubha is- yeah.
Last few slides. So one important thing for, especially for the girls in STEM, it is important to look for the role models in or around us. They could be your teacher, they could be from your family. I had several role models from my school, from my college time, and also from my professional journey, whom I admire a lot. And also it's important to have good mentors, which can guide you at right time. And so I was fortunate to have such mentors, including my from my family, from my professional life, my current directors. And also it's important that you should value whatever who matters a lot in your life. It could be your family, your teachers, your students, your mentors, collaborators. It's important we should value them. And this is besides, I also would like to inform that since I was inspired more or less by the science communication program, I used to read the Professor Yashpal column into the which used to come in newspaper. So I myself is into the science communication through INIAS, through CSIR Jigyasa program. This is something which I love to do so that I can motivate a few. Some take-home message I would like to give, especially for the girls into the STEM. There's 3 P's which are very important. That is passion, patience, and perseverance. So these are very much important to stay into the STEM field, to grow into the STEM field and make your mark. Besides that, hard work. There is no replacement of hard work. And be open to the learning, be open to the criticism. Try to take the positive out of it. So positive attitude is very much important. And also build a good support system in and around you, and have your own opinion. And definitely into the STEM field, it's important to have the networking. So build your network, and also acknowledge the people who helped you directly or indirectly. Do acknowledge them. These are certain important things which is required for girls in STEM. So this is my last slide. So I would like to say, have a dream for yourself. This is a statement which was given by our previous science and technology minister. So you should have a dream for yourself to work upon, and that dream should give you a satisfaction. So have dream for yourself in your life. So with this, I would like to end. I'll be happy to take more questions and have more interactive session. Thank you, Darshana.
Thank you, Pooja, for such an inspiring journey. And I think just like I'm feeling extremely inspired with your journey and the decisions that you took at various stages of your career. I'm sure it has given other girls present here an opportunity to reflect on how their journey is going. I understand Shubhra has to leave. Shubhra, do you mind switching on your camera for a bit? Like, we will let you go by 7:10 if that's okay, in about 8 minutes time. So
that's fine. I mean, I'm okay to stay on a little bit. This is really, really lovely to hear Pooja's journey as well. So yeah, myself inspired as well.
Thank you, Shubhra. And so we have some questions, so we can take some quick questions for Shubhra first. So who's raised the hand? Why can't I see? Pratibha, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, and others can type in their question in chat in the meantime.
Hello, Shubhra ma'am. One thing we have in common is that I was born in Odisha. So it's so inspiring for me to meet you and to get to talk with you. I was wondering that can we write our blog, science blog, like I'm at the undergraduate level. So can we start writing our blogs and experiments that we perform in the college? Is that valid, or first we have to do journalism, professional writing part, and then we can do it? Because science is such a subject.
Yeah. So yeah, very briefly to answer your question, the best writers are not trained. So don't worry about getting trained in communication. All of us are natural communicators, born communicators. So just like you're asking me that question, you ask your science questions as well, right? This is communication. If 2 people can talk about something for 5 minutes, that's a great story, right? It can go across and be told to anybody under the sun. So feel free to write your own pieces, your blog. I would suggest if you go a step further and approach your university or college department, whichever department you are in, there must be a college magazine or a college blog. These days, there's Instagram posts, there's the college's individual department magazines, etc. So if there is none, here is your opportunity to start one, and to start blogging about your own stories, inspiring your friends to blog about their stories, their science stories. Even if it's not science done at your institute or your organization, it could be anything that inspires you, any science story that inspires you, any science personality that inspires you, and you want to write about them. So the world is yours, and you can do anything you like. You can blog, you can write to the newspapers editorials if you have a wonderful story to share, and I can actually come back and tell you about what makes a great science story for a newspaper. If you want to write, what are the things you should keep in mind, what kind of stories make it to newspaper headlines, etc. What are the editors looking for, etc. So in short, anything that is incredible or inspiring, that can be that is a breakthrough, that is a first, that has superlative added to it, etc., can make a great story, and people would love to hear it. So yeah, why not?
Thank you, Shubhra, for that answer, and thanks, Pratibha, for that question. Swati, you go next.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. As every session of the Shala is really awesome, this session is also very fruitful for me. Both the speakers inspire me a lot. I just really want to thank you both the speakers. Like Dr. Shubhra ma'am told us, passion become your profession, which really helped me to solve the problem of my younger sister, which have professions about paintings and designing. But actually, my family also thinks she has to complete her graduation firstly, but now he really feels to solve her problem, and I really feel so lucky that I have a role model in my family, that is my Buvaji, Dr. Pooja Devi. But today I learned one thing from her, that is 3 P's in STEM: passion, patience, and perseverance. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can just add to that many times at this age we feel like our parents are not our best friends. Many times that happens, right? Many times we feel that, oh yeah, they are a generation apart. What do they know of our generation, our career choices, our loves, our passions, etc.? I would say become friends with your parents as much as you can, because they really know what's best for you. It's not always true that parents do not understand what your likings are. Like you said, there could be a hindrance, but if you try to reason why art and painting is so important for her life and why she can pursue it alongside her academics, which is, I feel like it's really important. I mean, I was a rebel when your age. I thought that if I needed to do journalism, why do I need to do so many other things? Why do I need to study zoology? Why do I need to study, say, law or personal management, etc.? But as I said, nothing goes waste. If you really want a good education and a background, a backdrop for all your passions, I do think that at times it's good to listen to your parents and hear them out. I mean, if they are too illogical, then of course everybody, youngsters are very sorted these days. They know exactly what to do. But still, if they are really out of the ground, and they are going way beyond your passion and experiences, or things that you would love to do, they're coming in the way, then that's a different question. You could again talk it out, but I do think they have a very big role in deciding where your careers will go, how you can blend your passion with your academics, etc. So I'll just stop there and say that make friends with your parents.
Thank you, Shubhra, for that comment. Who's next? I can't see. Just give me a minute. So, Prasanna, you go next, please.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. My name is Prashansa. And firstly, I would like to thank Dr. Shubhra and Dr. Pooja, ma'am, for, to walk us through your amazing and inspiring stories. And my question is for Shubhra, ma'am. Ma'am, I wanted to ask, what does your job look like? I mean, is it only, chasing targets and deadlines? And is it only the writing stuff, or does that have scope for news anchors and these kind of stuff?
Yeah, thanks for that question. Yeah, journalism these days is hydra headed. So you can sort of have 1001 avenues to express yourself in formats, content, styles, etc. Yes, it does have the scope for going beyond just text, but I would say having a good writing ability is at the core of all kinds of communication. So even if you have to do video or say a podcast, which I do, um, at the heart of it is a script which you have to write. So if you don't have good writing skills, you can't do a great Instagram post even. People will read your post based on how you say what you say on your post. So I would say to become a good writer, it's essential that you become a good reader. Just like to become a good speaker, you become a good listener. So if you read, say, 10 works of fiction, then you adopt your own style, make your own style, write a good work of fiction. If you want to become a science communicator or a science journalist, read 10 pieces of science journalism or science communication and create your own style after that. You'll come to it slowly but steadily if you follow a path which all of us have gone through. We were not born great writers. Like I said, we fancied ourselves as great poets or great prose writers. But at some point of time, we realized that great writing doesn't have to have verbose words or bombastic, dictionary words that nobody understands and have to go to a dictionary to understand that story that you're writing. Great writing is simple writing, and it's the toughest to write simply because you always tend to go beyond yourself and become flowery and like I said, jargon lace your stuff. That's the worst kind of writing. Something that a 10-year-old can understand and your grandma can understand. That's the best kind of writing. So yeah, in short, yes, I think you should aspire to become good writers first. It helps you in your science writing as well, not just in popular writing. If you write well, you're sorted. Your manuscripts also look sorted when you're writing science, when you're writing your research papers. You know exactly what to put where, how to put, how much to put, how much to eliminate, more importantly. And to write a good manuscript, you have to read 10 good manuscripts to arrive at how it works, how the flow works. So yeah, maybe I answered your question in a roundabout way.
Maybe I also would like to ask one question to Shubhra.
Please go ahead, Pooja.
Yeah, are there any kind of internship program by like in your institution because like internship programs are there in the research lab which give them exposure to wet lab kind of environment and other kind of environment mainly the students are not exposed to. Are there any such opportunities for the students, UG, PG students, so that they can have exposure of this kind of career choice also?
Absolutely. So I run a formal internship program at Nature India, which is so competitive, Pooja, that we end up selecting, people from MIT to come to India and write for us, kind of thing. It's very competitive, and when HR gets involved, they'll choose the best, etc. But I welcome everybody who wants to come into my office and see how we work. What happens through the day. Now I'm a science editor, so I have journalists working for me, and people, science writers working for me. So I've graduated from those days of deadline chasing reporters, like Prashansa just asked. So I make others chase deadlines now, and I'm in a cozy position. So what happens inside my office? Anybody is welcome to come in. Just write to me, make a day of appointment with me, come into my office, see how the editorial works, what kind of decisions we make to, on a daily basis to arrive at which are the best stories to feature on Nature India. How do we write them? What to and fro goes between the editor and the journalist on the field who's sending us the feed? What kind of decisions do we make to not write about certain stories? Very important, what stories to spike rather than which ones to publish. So those things, I welcome everybody to come in, even undergraduate and postgraduate students who can come in and have an exposure. It may not be a full-fledged internship of say 1 month, but even if you come for 3-4 days to me and then do an online mentoring. I mentor a whole bunch of people, of writers who think they can write but can't, and then you have to sort of go to and fro to improve those skills in writing. I'm happy to do that for n number of people, provided I have the time and the agility at any given time of the day. So one small thing I just want to add, a day of a science editor is like a 24/7 day. You don't know what time news is breaking, and then you assign somebody to cover it, then you go to and fro with them to get it written, get the pictures, sometimes videos, sometimes for the podcast you need those audio feeds and ambient sound. You need to record your own voice. So it's like a cycle that never ends. But then we try to, work-life balance is something that is hard to come by, but when you love what you do, I think it just becomes a family affair. Everybody's helping you in the family get your things done, and they are involved in your passion. So it becomes like something that you live. It's like a vacation all the time, and again, it's like a job all the time. So yeah.
Thank you, Shubhra, for that answer. I would just like to add to this point, like if you ever think it may be appropriate, what we are now looking at is like offering specialized tracks to all the girls who finish our program in partnership with various organizations. So for example, Atlassian is doing a data science track with us. So yeah, if you think it may be appropriate, girls who finish the 6 months program with us and have an interest in science journalism, we would be interested in running a small boot camp or a cohort which can basically, I understand your time is super limited, but if it can be delivered through the platform and to these girls who, for them, I think getting a taste of what science journalism or communication looks like can be very, very helpful, because I think at this stage, getting an opportunity to explore myriad of career options and possibilities is going to broaden their horizon. And I'm really amazed, like as you mentioned about your daughter, and I think I'm really amazed with all that she's been able to do at such a young age. And I'm sure like your determination and the way seeing a role model in action 24/7 certainly plays a big role in that. So I would be like happy to chat with you on this at a separate note, if we can do a small boot camp or a small virtual program for science journalism, or at least the mindset towards journalism with you or nature. That would be great. So I just thought I would put it across because you were just mentioning this.
Always happy to.
Okay, thank you. And I understand you have to go as well. So if you want, please feel free to let us know. And but I have some questions for, or are you okay to stay for some more time, or you want to go? I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, if I have any more questions to answer, I'll stay on. No worries.
Okay, cool. So I have one question which has come on text to me. Pooja, this question is for you. This is Samhita. She's from Uttarakhand, and she says that I'm really inspired with your journey and thinking about how coming from a small town and studying in regional medium, Hindi medium. So, was there any time that you felt doubtful, that whether you would be able to do it or not? And secondly, like, I understand your family is super supportive, but not all the times, especially for girls, coming from remote towns, families are not that supportive. And and this has also been my experience. A lot of time they face a lot of resistance from families. So any advice to those girls out there, just like Samhita?
Yeah, Darshana. So yeah, there has been several times where I felt like what to do next. So there have been such kind of incidents or instances. So it's important that at such when such phases are there, you look back to your journey, whatever you have gained, and appreciate yourself that you have come to this far. You can you can go further. Okay, so appreciate yourself for wherever, whatever you have achieved, even the small achievement, celebrate it for yourself. So that I think that keeps you encouraged, that keeps you motivated, that yeah, I have achieved something. Okay, they are then so don't always look what is above me, also look back what you have done. And regarding that, having if you are not having a supportive family, how to handle it? I think it's important to give the exposure to the family also. Okay, because they are not exposed to that environment, the very constrained environment, and they are protective for you. So sometimes they feel that this may not be a right choice for you. Like in my case, when I wanted to go like for international fellowship, my family was resistant. They didn't want to send me, even though they were supportive. So I took my father and also my uncle, who had a lot of influence in my family, and I took to the research lab. I made them meet my supervisors, meet my teachers, and also they ensured that there is some. They made them talk to some of the relative in Canada. Okay, so that kind of giving them exposure is also equally important. Okay, if you don't share things, and if you don't tell that this could happen, like if you give me this opportunity, these many new opportunities can open up for me. So it's important you also give exposure to your parents. So that way, I think such little efforts can make you convince. After all, they are your parents, they'll think good for you. So like Dr. Shubhra said, make your parents as your friends. That's very much important.
Thank you, Pooja, for that beautiful answer. Shubhra, this is my question to you. Okay, so I understand, like, when we look at journalists, and their job is very risky as well at times, right? Like when you are reporting a story that may go against the state or vested interest of people who are whom you may be exposing. For example, you mentioned the case of the blood bank story from your book. So has there been instances in your professional journey so far when you felt a sense of danger or a sense of threat? And if yes, how did you mitigate that? So I'm like really curious, to know if there
Yeah, several times. I do think that at times when journalism, like you said, points out the negative in the powers of corridor, you get to be at the receiving end of people who are powerful. So I have been consistently trolled, and this has increased when you have gotten into the era of Twitter and Facebook and places where everybody is an expert about everything under the sun. So you get trolled consistently, especially women journalists get trolled more than men journalists do. How to overcome this is it's a professional hazard at best at this stage of my career. There were times initially when I thought that I was doing something wrong, that my family might come in the harm's way if I continued to do what I'm doing, if I continued to expose. And because the threats would not be just to my own self, it would be to the daughter, to the husband, to the parents, etc. So we know exactly where your daughter goes to school, right? That kind of threats. So the stories that I'm talking about are either stories that have, at one time, Pooja, bear with me, there was a story about CSIR's, shortcomings that I did. It was.
Thank you, Shubhra, for sharing this, extremely personal. I understand, these things can be challenging, and I'm really glad that you shared this with our students here today, because I think it's really important to show them both sides of the, flip, and it wouldn't be fair if we paint all rosy. Painting in front of the students. So I'm myself, short of words to even imagine, like, the ordeal that you must have been through when not just you, but your family is being put at threat. So kudos to you for your courage and the passion that you bring to your profession. And I'm sure um, it is inspiring many in the audience, just like it is inspiring me. Um, yeah, I'm really short of words, but I understand. I'm really inspired. So thank you, and inspired by both of you actually, and more so for this moment of courage, because it takes a lot to stick to your values when not just your but your family's life is at stake, right? So thank you for what you do. um, uh, Before we move on, we have a last question for today, because in the interest of time, Pratibha, please go ahead and ask your question. We may be overrunning by a few minutes because it's already 7:29. So Pratibha, please ask your question.
Yes, hello Pooja ma'am. When I look into your life now, it feels like there are n number of doors, and you're just opening it one after one after the other. So, which was the hardest door to open, like biggest hurdle apart from the language barrier, and what was the biggest milestone? Like you have so many awards in your way, you have achieved so many things. So, what is your biggest milestone that you have achieved till now?
Thank you, Pratibha. So, I already told the barrier that I had early in my education. Second thing I felt, which was kind of little bit, challenge for me to manage my family and professional life. I think this is there for all the working women. In STEM, it is little bit more because STEM is very demanding field. Okay, you have to spend because. In science you can contribute well if you are passionate about it. Okay, so that demands more time of yours, and that time equally you have to give time to your family also. So the having a balance between personal and professional life, this is what I think was a bit challenging, but one can sail through it by listening to definitely the role models, seeing how they have gone through it, and also having creating again the support system. That's important. So that is the another thing which I could share. And as far as milestone, I would say like the awards and recognition are not the milestone which made me happy. The major thing from all this thing, whatever I learned, especially in the science field, I'm trying to upbring my child accordingly. I am trying to create curiosity in him. Okay. So many times, like I listen from him, I want to be like you, I want to become an engineer, I want to do this for the India. So these kind of words when he tells me, so that gives him more happiness. Okay, because he's seeing me, he's seeing like both of us working in the field of science, and he's trying to relate what we are doing, and he's himself getting inspired. And so all the learnings which I could gain. Like I try to share everything with my family. I try to give them exposure. All the achievements, whatever I'm doing, I tell to my kid that this research I'm doing. Okay, mama is doing this thing. We do this. We can test water. I take him to lab. I take my family also to lab. So those little happiness when you see faces of your family, I think those are more precious than any awards and than any recognition, I would rather say. So that's also very important for especially being in STEM and being girl in STEM to sustain. It's important you connect your family with whatever you do.
Thank you, Pooja.
Same, ma'am. Ma'am, please 1 minute. I also have a 7-year-old brother. So I always talk things like, okay, we did this in our college, we did that, you know how our solar system works. So all these talks I have with him. And my family wonders, okay, what you are saying to a 7-year-old kid, how will he understand such things? And I'm like, okay, he's gaining interest. I am making him ready for the future. And that's it. So I'm in the right direction, I mean.
Thank you, Pratibha.
Thank you, Pratibha, for that question. Shubhra and Pooja, absolutely last question from my side to you both is, and I'm sorry for stretching it a bit, but one quick question, because you both have had experiences in different domains. So if you were to recommend one policy change to Government of India that could make science more inclusive and a more welcome space for women, whether it's in your profession or any other profession, what would that be?
Well, one is way too less, but
I understand, but yeah, your top pick, I would say.
Yeah. I think one thing that the science communication aspect of this country suffers from is that scientists in this country are not always trained or skilled to talk about their science in a manner that, say, a country like the US or the UK scientists do there. So one thing that I would change at the policy level is include science communication as a necessary skill for scientists, graduation onwards. You know, have a course or a paper in science communication from the graduation. It may not be mandatory, it could be just an optional paper that you take, but start teaching them early about how to communicate science better. And at the same time, let everybody who is inspired by science be able to speak about their science. Many times we see in this country that scientists are not allowed to speak about what they do. It's only the directors who will speak or the higher ups who will speak about it. But why can't everybody speak about the wonders of science and what they're doing, right? So yeah, that's two actually, not one.
Thank you, Shubhra. That's amazing. Pooja, would you like to go next?
Yeah. So if you ask me in general for inculcating science culture in country, I think it's important to have the skill training along basically learning by doing. I think that is what our new education policy is also trying to implement. So that's really important, that makes students connect what they are reading. So I think I am hopeful that we see changes in coming years. So that's the important part of the science education in the schools. And if you ask me about the girls, especially to have more girls in STEM, I think the enrollment point of view, we are doing good in even comparison to other countries. So the major problem comes is the retaining the girls into the STEM profession. So I think at that particular time, they juggle between their family and their professional life. So we need policies or ecosystem that help them to balance those. So that could be in form of flexible working hours for the working parents and the institutional support. that could be in terms of, having crutches or the schools or, flexibility in working. So those things are required because that is where most of the girls, they lose out from the STEM profession because they choose family as a priority, like after getting married, after having child. Mostly they juggle and at a time they give up. So it's important we create an ecosystem and policies at this stage so that the girls who are trained, we take them further, and so that we have more women at the entry level, and so that we can see more women at leadership level. So inflow is required.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot to both of you for this fabulous session. And you both would be delighted to know that Kalpana actually stresses a lot on science communication. Apart from career and vision clarity, the next leap that our fellows take is into understanding scientific temperament and hypothesis-driven communication. So, and how do you test a hypothesis? How do you communicate about it? And building collaborative skills around, by like imbibing a spirit of scientific temperament. So I'm really excited that you both wholeheartedly advocate for acquiring right science communication skill right at the start. And I am looking forward to sharing the communication pieces our girls will create towards the end of this fellowship. So thank you very much to both of you for being here today and shaping the future of science by sharing your incredible trailblazing journeys in STEM. I fall short of words to express my gratitude to both of you. And I think there couldn't have been a better Independence Day weekend for us in India. We have some international fellows as well who've joined us today. And many more will listen to your stories on, once this is presented on our app. So I'm really excited and grateful that you both are here, and I look forward to collaborating with you, your institutions, to take this program to every aspiring, committed, and talented girl in the country. So thank you very much for being here today, and you both can leave. I understand we are like 10 minutes beyond our.
Thank you. Pleasure's been entirely mine.
Thank you, Kalpana and Vijay, for doing a wonderful job. Really appreciable. I think it would be important step for all the girls who are there to chalk out their journey, to decide where they want to go and also get their all doubts cleared. So thank you for this wonderful effort.
Plus one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Girls, we are here. If you want to ask us any questions, Vijay and I are here.
Hello, Darshana ma'am.
Hello, who's this?
Pratibha here.